Welcome to my video series about the heroine's journey. My name is Susanna Liller, and it's time to find your happiness. This video is about taking stock, assessing where you are in your life, which is a good thing to do at any point in your heroine's journey, to take a moment and assess. And I'm going to introduce an exercise that I use a lot with my coaching clients. So a coaching client came to me recently, an author who had just finished writing a book, and it was in the publisher's hands, and she was exhausted. And she said, I have poured my whole self into this book. I don't even know who I am anymore, separate from this book. She was immersed for 5 years in the writing of it, and for 8 years prior to in the experience that she actually wrote the book about. So we did the timeline exercise, and it's an exercise that was introduced to me when I was certified to be a coach at the Hudson Institute in Santa Barbara. And what we had to do, and I'm going to be showing it to you in a minute, but we had to have a big white piece of paper. I'll be writing on this just the way I did in this exercise. And we were asked to write our timeline of where, from birth to actually where we wanted to be, our ideal when we wanted to die moment. We drew a line, and they said, my facilitator said, go ahead and note with a line, so you're drawing a horizontal line, but then note the moments that were good that you remember, going back to when you were born, your earliest memories, the good moments, a line going up, and the not so great moments, the lines going down. And go ahead and note those until you arrive at the present time. And then, well, I'll save that for when I do it with you. So I did that, and we had to do it in our place on this big white sheet of paper. And then we were going to go and put it on the wall and explain to the rest of the group, kind of walk them through it. So I did. I noted what was good, my things that I remembered, I felt good about, my marriage, my having my children, the jobs and careers milestones that I had made, and then the not so good things were my first marriage, the divorce that followed, and times when I'd been really disappointed. And so I did that. And then when it was my turn, I got up and I sat and talked about it. I got up and talked about it to the people sitting. And then I sat down when I was done. And it was interesting because this was one of the first signs for me that I was feeling another call, a call to make a big change in my life. At the time, I was in a consulting firm, a small consulting firm, doing organizational development work. And I had come to Hudson to get my coaching certification to add to my resume of what I did as a consultant, as a partner in that firm. And so there I sat down. Other person was explaining their timeline, and I was looking at what I had put up there, and I hadn't even noted the consulting company. I had been there for 8 years, and it wasn't even on my timeline. So for me, as I thought about that even afterwards, that was odd. And it was me beginning to think, oh, maybe I'm ready to leave, which in fact, there were other exercises I did as part of that coaching certification that got me to say I was done with that work at the consulting firm, and I went out on my own again. But back to doing it with my coaching client who had been writing the book, she outlined, actually, we spread a big white piece of paper in my hallway. She came here to my home office and she spent over an hour noting the high and low points in her life and remembered things that she had forgotten about what she had done, totally separate and different from the book, and remembered things that she had done early on, which she could say, oh, maybe that's related to why I got into this work in the first place. She worked with Native Indigenous people here in Maine. So it was an eye-opening experience for her and very worthwhile. Another coaching client that I used it with was a woman who didn't want to retire. She had worked in an organization for a long time, and she was a senior leader in the organization and had talked with her team about maybe it was time, but just really, she was refusing the call to leave and really didn't know that she was done. And so we did the timeline with her. And again, as a way to stand up back from your life and give it a bird's eye view and be more objective. And she, as she went back, there were things that she had done that she hadn't even remembered, real accomplishments that she had kind of set aside because this job that she was in, that had been in for so long, in this very worthwhile nonprofit, had become all-consuming. And again, she was able, because of standing back from it, remembering so much that she had forgotten, her other successes, she realized that, yes, I could let go. And there probably are other things that will come up for me that I'll be interested in doing, just like there were before this particular career took over my life. So I would like to show this to you and see if this is something that would be helpful to you. And you might even want to pause this video and go get a big white piece of paper. And it doesn't even have to be this big, but this is going to be a good way for me to show you. And find something. I mean, you could even do it on more than one pieces of paper, but it's pretty simple. As I was preparing to do this with you and figuring out how I was going to do it, well, I'll show you what occurred to me. It can be startling. So here's how you start, with a very simple horizontal line. And you're not going to see the whole thing here. I'm making it smaller so you can see it. But at some point, this is today. I have to pardon my handwriting. And then again, this is when you were born. So some people like to be more specific, and they go ahead and do 5-year increments or 10-year increments. Other people can just note, oh, I ran that race and won it when I was 10 years old. And so that was a high point in my life. But then this, where all the kids were mean to me at school and I was bullied, well, that wasn't so much fun. And then this is when I became an honor student. And again, whatever it is for you, you're gonna just, and maybe you have more ups than downs or more downs than ups. So that's something else you can look at and pay attention to. And it takes time. It's not necessarily something you do quickly, because as you start doing it, you'll remember more. And when I used to do this in person, people would ask for more time because it's really, you get kind of deeply pulled into it. But one thing I wanted to show you is you get done with getting to today, but you're not done. So then I ask you, I don't want to fall off my chair here. Then I ask you, well, guesstimate when you think you're going to die, how old you're going to be. This is kind of what got me as I was looking at this today. So I'm thinking, all right, let's go with it, Susanna. Let's just say 100. So then I'm going 10-year increments. So this requires me to tell you that just recently in November, I turned 70. So if I go to 10-year increments, in 2031, I'm 80. In 2041, I'm 90. So, oh my gosh, 2051. All of a sudden, oh, Susanna, pay attention. Time is fleeting. And what is it you really want to do? So that's what you think about. And this is, what do you want to make sure happens? So I want to write another book. So I want to make sure that happens. I want to travel again. I want to go to Ireland. I'm just going to put travel. I mean, you don't really have to say I'm going to do it in 2031 or 2041, but what this does for you is helps you realize that it's a limited resource. And those things that you want to do need to happen. So on this side, it's kind of a different story. You're looking at what you've done, remembering things you've forgotten. Maybe there's some kind of pattern there you can discover. Maybe you can be like me and say, wow, why did I leave out that I worked for that firm? I mean, it was really a good experience. So why did I forget to put it in there? Which got me thinking about, oh, is that a subliminal message that it's getting done? Which that very year, I gave my notice and left. So a lot to be discovered from taking stock. It helps you remember, it gives you a different perspective, and it kind of places you differently in the present moment. And here I am, but I'm remembering what came before and what maybe will be coming. Well, I won't remember what will be coming. I'm thinking, I'm getting a different feeling for time. And of course, you might all be, I'm sure that most of you are not 70, but yeah, so you'll have more time to do the things you want to do. But okay, heroine, we have to admit it. We never know. We never know how much time we have. So to kind of ponder this and ponder what we want to make sure we want to do is a worthwhile exercise. So I hope that you will try it. And again, it's really easy to draw a couple lines and take yourself through your timeline. So thank you for letting me teach you that or show that to you today. And again, it's helpful to look at your life from a different perspective. So I really recommend you giving it a try. And you also know what I recommend, and that is to think of yourself as a heroine, because you are, in fact, on the heroine's journey. Well, you could be still in your ordinary life and pondering, answering a call. So once you answer that call, though, you're on the road to adventure and you're on the heroine's journey, the journey of life. So you are a heroine. And if you want more information about any of this, I have so much on my website, susannaliller.com. And I have a whole course, an online course, a do-it-yourself, proceed on your own time, the epic journey of transformation, which will lead you through and lead you to discover a lot about yourself. So I hope you'll check that out too. All right. It's been more than a pleasure to spend this time with you. I'll see you at the next video.